Hey, I'll do my show. I'm gonna tell Sister Cheryl West to call you and beat you up. Sister Cheryl.
West would never say
Sister Cheryl, she give me a hard time over here because I'm doing my show. What's going on, y'all? This your boy, Dr. Will Rogers. What's up, Triple Chocolate? He give me a hard time because of when I started the show. But anywho, let's jump right in, y'all. We got to talk about you have been purchased with a price. Y'all know we used to hear that in the church all the time. And so we want to break down really how humanity, we are controlled by symbols, by signs and symbols that control our consciousness, that prevents us from being purchased by a price. So today is, this is about as close to Christianity I'm going to get because I'm not a Christian, I'm a Christian. So I'm not drugged, I'm a weapon. So I'm not under the spell. I've been empowered by the spell, if you want to use that term. So we want to break down why I don't, and you shouldn't, limit yourself to the narrative because that makes you a survivalist instead of a thrivalist, if that's a word. So we want to get out of the disposition where we are doing anything to survive. We are just radically materialized. We want to get into a disposition where we thrive. So we're not just so desperate and so thirsty, but we coming from a space where we are in abundance and peace versus being aggressively materialistic. Now, both frequencies, if you want to use that term, exist on the planet. But we've been purchased. Our blood has not been commingled with Belshazzar, Asmodeus, Lucifer, Gilgamesh, Nimrod, and, the list goes on, depending on the demographics that you are talking to. And it's very important because this gets into what we're talking about in the private message, but we can kind of dance around the private message without, getting into the private message because obviously that's for the people who purchased that. But this will help the people who are not part of it to understand why they are still under the spell of Gilgamesh or the spell of spiritual amnesia. Because all of the Bible, all of the ancient texts talk about that we are genetically modified individuals. That is very difficult for a Christian to wrap their brain around, which is why they're Christian. To be a Christian, you accept the fact that your genes have been genetically modified by Gilgamesh, and you don't know that Gilgamesh is what we call Yahweh, Jehovah, or the other names that comes with the Helios Biblios. Now, we could argue and debate about the names and the terms, which is why I don't get into the debating because that is what we talked about last night, mnemonics, where we get the word demonic. So cognition before ignition, like we mentioned yesterday. We're in a calamity right now because there is subliminal marketing that is being taken place, which is why I don't do Christianity or morality. I do humanity or thriveology. So I do things that benefit humanity. I don't do things that benefit my morality. Why? Because everybody that I've met, they claim to be moral, but they do the most dirt. You go back in history, and the people who were, especially like the Knights Templars, they were commissioned by the church to do good. Look at the Dark Ages. Everything dark is assigned or associated with good. How is that possible? I need one of you high vibration like Cubans to please assist me with understanding your morality. Now, when I say purchase with a price, that gets into the Jesus narrative because God told Abram to get the blank out of earth because all of the Gilborim, they were from earth. Now, the Gilborim were a race of giants. And it's interesting that when we look at the Gilborim, or what are the terms? Basically, the mighty men of renown. These kind of like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. These Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, these were the mighty men. That's where the Power Rangers come from, by the way. They were the mighty men of renown in the Bible. Like Goliath. These were the Nephilim or the Nephilim that it talks about in Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. So tonight we get to break down and get into how the human race has been hijacked and how they're now using the jab to bring about the new wave of genetic modification to further separate you from source. Now, these parallel realms exist, and they are using what we're talking about tonight to continue to keep you in a spell that separates you from the source, even though you've been legally purchased, if you want to use that term. So the whole point of everything on earth, the big picture, is entrapment. Whoever they are, they got to figure out how to keep you on earth. Because you contain a spark of source inside of you. So it's really not you. They want what's in you. The spark. That's what we call like creativity. It's kind of like the Norman Lear story that people were talking about with the guy that made, Sanford and Sons and Good Times and, Caucasian or, non-melanated Jewish guy, yet he's making all of these melanated shows and they were just like anybody who watched, Sanford and Sons was, Red Fox. It was funny, it was right on point. How can an old Jewish guy know anything about the black culture like that? Well, obviously, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You're like with Elvis Presley. How did he sing? Like every non-melanated person gets their melanin from a melanated person. So that's what the story is about. The story is about this spark. Now, we could break it down and call it melanin. Yeah, it is, and it isn't just melanin. It is the creation, which is a function of language. So your creative power is a function of the code. This is a universal code. Math, music, and language is what we call it, 528 hertz. Some people call it 144, like we talked about in the last series. So this is the sound or the science of crystals. So that's what's inside of you. So the dominant culture, they need to get that. But they just can't take out your energy vortex. They need you to produce. But they need it to be produced in a frequency range that is dark because they feed off of your emotional state. So you've been purchased for a price to produce a high vibrational state to establish a high vibrational heaven on earth. Well, the lower vibrational beings, they want to purchase you too. So they're using fake faith through frequency to making sure that you are frequently immersed in the SEA based upon what you SEE. So that's why these shows are so important. Now it gets to a point where you have to stop coagulating with the lower frequency. That's what the point of everything I do is about. Stop intermingling with the low frequency. That's what Source is telling you. You've been purchased to produce a high frequency. That's why Source pulled you out of Earth. It pulled you out of the mystery Babylon. So it is this mystery Babel. It is Babel. It is a mysterious pronunciation of sounds and symbols that has a subliminal marketing frequency wave of vibration. It was, and it is manifested by the great men of renown who have a specific bloodline that they want to continue to, again, blood really means frequency. It's a specific frequency line. And their job is to make sure that I'm going to use the word consciousness, your awareness never rises to the point of Yahushua or the HaMashiach, because then you would no longer perish for a lack of gnosis. The scripture says that my people perish for lack of knowledge, because knowledge brings what? Well, consciousness establishes perception. Now, the reason why that should, like, for example, why are there not more frequencies, waves, and vibrations? Let's say on today's call, enrolled in a life management system, purchasing your products, your services, your information, because most frequencies, most waves, most verbs, most vibes, they are from a different tribe. That's the best way to put it. And these verbs, these vibes, they're from a totally different tribe. They're not from the frequency or the wave or the verb or the vibration that you and I are from. These are the great men and the great women of renown. And it talks about inside of the Helios Biblios. Now, that's the purpose. That is the reason that we're doing the current series, is to assist you with over understanding the different frequencies, waves of vibrations, which are spells. So each spell is a specific frequency. It's a specific wave or vibration. So your job is to oscillate and vibrate at the highest possible spell or frequency, a wave of vibration, to get away from the Gilgamesh or the Yiburim. So the star experiment is this experiment that was done where the guy, and it's on TikTok and a lot of other places. So he takes out a sheet of paper. Everybody takes out a sheet of paper. He has the whole audience draw something that they're thinking. Everybody draws what they're thinking. The whole audience of 200 plus people turn over their paper, and everybody drew the exact same thing. Just like in the movie Focus, the reason that the entire audience drew the exact same picture that the guy putting on the little star experiment, everybody drew a star, by the way. That's what's called the star experiment. Why did everybody draw a star? Because he unconsciously planted the symbols of the letter S-T-A-R. But he said like the word snake, and he drew it like a snake. Then he said the word cross, but he put it in the form of a T. And then for the letter A, I forgot he used some other symbol that looks like a letter A. And then he used upside down, he said the word rabbit. And then he drew the R, but it wasn't the letter R. But the symbol was the R. So he went through and he set his intention. He put his intention into the symbol so it could plant into the mind of 200 plus people in the audience. Now, I need you to understand the experiment. And he goes around, he goes around to different football camps. He does the same thing. He gets people, he sets his intention, and he transfers his intention to a symbol. He shows the symbol during his conversation to the audience. They unknowingly they look at the symbol, but they pick up his intention unknowingly. And he unknowingly programs them to regurgitate his intent, not theirs. So they think they're drawing something that he said you can draw anything you want. How do they all draw the exact same thing? When he never told them to draw a star. He just said that, hey, you can draw anything, like maybe you could draw like, you could draw a snake. If you want, you could draw, you can draw a cross. If you want, you could draw a pyramid or something, I think he said mountain. Yeah, he said mountain. He said if you want, you could draw a mountain. He holds a picture of a mountain. Now remember, he holds a picture of like an S. He holds a picture of a T, but it's not a T, it's a cross. He holds up a picture of a mountain. It's not an A, but it has a peak. He holds up a picture of a rabbit, but it's an upside down rabbit. It looks like a round circle with two ears. But when you turn it around, it looks like the letter R. So by seeing that images that have his intent, he programs their minds. And he goes around and he does it. And he's not like one of those what they call a magician type guy, I forgot the guy that used to do that street magic. And you've probably seen the video on TikTok or some other channel. Well, that happened to you and me globally. What this guy does to an audience of 200 people, the Nephilim did to a flat plane of extraterrestrials. Tonight we get to break down Operation High Jump to prove to you, based upon science, what the dominant culture does not want you to understand. That what you and I think is nowhere near the truth. We got King James Version, not the original. So we have to understand that we've been purchased with a price. That's the only way you could listen to me. Something in your gut connects to the same thing that's in my gut. Because my intention has always been the same thing. Replace error with truth. So before I do a show, I set my intention in my voice and I send it out to everybody subconsciously or using quantum telepathy, like we're talking about tonight. How to break the spell of spiritual amnesia. Well, you got to understand how they put the spell of spiritual amnesia on you. The way they put it on you is through symbols and through signs. Now, we call those letters. We call those numbers. So letters and numbers are used to keep you trapped in Groundhog Day. Let me say it again. Letters and numbers are used to keep you trapped in Groundhog Day. Now, that just simply means to control your consciousness. Those letters are fetchers. They're chains. They keep you trapped in darkness. So these letters and numbers are magnets. They contain spiritual power. And inside of each letter and each number, there is a frequency wave of vibration. But these letters and numbers, they are used in runic magic and, sigillism or sigil magic. Now, whether we understand that or not, that's another story for another time. But the point of the matter is, as been proved through thousands and thousands of experiments, like the one I just mentioned, the point of today's message is to understand that you do not have to fall for that. Your job is to keep your psychology, your psyche, pure, separated from the Nephilim. The way that you do that is the way that I do it, is to maintain my humanity, not my morality. Everybody focuses on morality because that's established by letters and numbers. The mighty men of renown, the parallel universe, Mystery Babylon, and Amon's horn. So inside of your brain. So they can affect your prior existence with the Father, whoever they are. They can have a negative effect on your ability to connect with a positive frequency. Because whoever they are, has this power to use these letters and numbers to keep you trapped in Mystery Babylon, you can't jump high. So Project High Jump keeps you trapped in a parallel universe so that way you don't have access to your 12 senses. So you continue to stay in spiritual amnesia. And so you have been bought with a price, but we are operating in morality, not in humanity. Since morality is established by the low frequency, because guess what? The low frequency beings are the Yehovah. Those are the greater men of renown. Those are the 1%ers. Those are the people that are in positions of power. Excuse me. Those are the modern day reverends, doctors, and bishops. There is no moral or there is no morality. There's no value greater than humanity. Now that's rough because we've been taught humanity is bad because humanity has been demonized. But who did the demonizing? It's very, like, you got to remember, Lucifer is the god of confusion. The ability to to manipulate, to trick you into being a lie, to believe that morality, because the people who are supposed to be the most moral, those are the ones that are the most corrupt. Because look at your politicians. Well, all of them claim to be religious. They all claim to be of some faith. They all promote a specific belief system, which is a lie. They are being a lie. That's a be-lie system. So there's no moral value greater than humanity. What does that mean? What is humanity? Well, humanity is what the Bible calls the golden rule. Do unto others. That's not morality. That's humanity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Wow. That is crazy. So you mean to tell me I should treat people, this is humanity, because people are humans. But we're not humans, but that's the label. That's the limit that they placed on us so that we would fight. To do what? We were willing to do anything to survive. And even myself, I'm guilty too. Just like everybody on this call. I fell for the trick too. I bit it, hook, line, and sinker. What did I do? I did the same thing that you did and that everybody else did. We all are in it to win it. What does that mean? Well, we're here to take care of our families. We are willing to do anything by any means necessary. Well, that's the trap. The trick is to get you to become a survivalist. I'm going to survive, brother, by any means necessary. That's what I've been doing. What that do? Well, that makes you radically materialistic. It is the unconscious, as I've learned, agreement. Now, you obtain a lot of materialistic things, just like I have, but it comes at the expense of your humanity, not your morality. Because morality is evil. Because morality is established by people who establish a belief that's put above a human life, when a human life should be put above a belief. You should never put your belief above a human life. Simply means, I believe God has called me to exterminate you because I'm chosen and you ain't. That's morality. Morality gives you a license to kill because you feel justified, because you are moral. You have a God. But I can't see your God. He ain't tell me that I'm supposed to allow you to take my life. He told you. But because you got a badge and a gun, or you're in a position of power, you can justify your morality by simply saying, my skin is white, your skin is black. I can put a noose around your neck and I can hang you from a tree because I'm God's chosen. When I talk to clan members, they go to the Bible and they show me in the Bible where they are justified because their skin, Cush, who was cursed, his skin was dark. One of the Noah's sons that was cursed, this they told me in prison, which is why they believe that they are called. Like when I talk to the Muslims, they believe that the white man is the devil. Because they look at the verse that talks about the wolf and the harlot, and it says, white. So anybody can justify their behavior using morality, using the Bible or any religious book to justify killing you. That's why I don't do morality. I am not a moral man. But I do humanity. My humanity states, do unto other humans. Again, we use the word human because they do. It's their label. It's not my label. I didn't make it up. I just used the word. The shit was here when I got here. It'll probably be here when I'm gone. So don't get your panties caught up on the terms, man. You fucking miss the forest for the trees. I mean, not you personally, but So what do you call them? Humans, monkeys, squirrels, rabbits, dogs, whatever. It's better for you to not harm some person, place, or thing that looks like you than to get some instruction from an invisible deity that says, kill your brother. When the Bible clearly states, when they ask Jesus, hey, what's the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul with all your might. The second is just like the first. Love your neighbor as yourself. So you ain't going to put your a rope around your own neck. So why the hell you going to put a rope around mine? Because guess what? I look exactly like you. The only difference is my skin color. If you take off my organs, they look exactly like your organs. So we get caught up in morality instead of humanity. So no, I don't do morality. I do humanity. I treat people the way I want to be treated. So I thrive. I don't have to survive any longer. How did I get to this point? My consciousness changed my perception. So I've been able to change, and I will continue to grow and change because I have something called awareness. And every day I seek out to expand my consciousness. And guess what? That changes my perception. So let's say I know you, right? This is why like relationships don't work. You meet somebody, they put on the happy face. And they the bomb back home. Now, you're in the honeymoon stage. In the honeymoon stage, man, your date, your girl, your guy, shit, they do everything. They get up early, they go to work, they cook, man, they're fucking God. So you get married, sometimes before you get married, then what happens? They resort back to who they really are. No more getting up early, no more going to work, no more doing the dishes, no more keeping the house clean, because now they get to settle in and be who they truly are. No more play. So now, because you have a deeper, clearer understanding of that person, your consciousness, your awareness has expanded. So now your view of that person has changed. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say you changed. They're going to gaslight you. And you're going to probably buy it. You're going to think, well, damn, maybe I did change. No, you didn't change. It's just that as your consciousness expanded, your perception expanded. Because they were hiding something from you. What they were hiding is the exact same thing that the dominant culture is hiding from you right now. So you are under a spiritual spell, and you have spiritual amnesia, like we said last night, like we will continue tonight's message, because somebody is gaslighting you. You do not have access. Let me break down access or accent. So your brain has been hijacked. Your mind, will, emotion, imaginative intelligence has been hijacked. And you live in a parallel universe. That's why I like the series, The Peripheral. Because you are living in your peripheral. You're not living in source. Because that's what you are. You are source. But you got tricked by Nimrod. You got tricked by Marduk. You got tricked by Gilgamesh. What they don't tell you is the G in Masonry doesn't stand for God. The G in Masonry stands for Gilgamesh. Do not tell nobody I told you. Because, they don't like you to be. They want to make sure your ass continue with King James. Masons don't worship God. They worship Gilgamesh. I ain't read that shit in no book. Now, the average Negro cannot connect the dots between Gilgamesh and the Tower of Babylon, or Mystery Babylon. The average Negro does not have the brain capacity not because he or she does not have intelligence, because he or she does not have access. So the reason why you cannot break the spiritual spell of amnesia is you don't have access, which is this number one. You don't have what? The intellect that comes from the information, which comes from the inflection. And all of the 5 keys that lead to you being under the spell of the most. It costs you the most. He's the cosmos grator. He's the Lord that is costing you the most. The cosmos grator is the prince of the power of the air.
He is the God or the goddess of this world. As we would break down Operation High Jump, you can't jump high enough to see over the ice wall. So, unbeknownst to you and me and every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, especially if you are now Cuban, what we have is 33 degrees of reality. That's why masonry, you can only go to the 33rd degree. Well, there's 666. That's 66% of the plane that the ETs are not allowed to see. That's animal bird. So I will be breaking this shit down later on tonight as we get into, again, the kimchi. This ain't the average Negro's cup of tea. Because we got to go where no man, or very few men have gone, as we break down not only Mystery Babylon, but we got to break down the Sumerian, Atlantean, Palladian cylinder cube. We're going to get into the yellow cube, Project Looking Glass and Project Woodpecker, the Philadelphia Experiment. All of these gateway projects to Saturnalia is all about controlling your clear intention. You cannot have that. Because if you had clear intent, you would have clear thought. And if you had clear thought, you would have coherent emotion. Then you could be able to steer and navigate from within. We can't do that. The dominant culture cannot let you listen to you. You got to make sure that there's always a distracted. There's a bunch of fucking noise going on. So you can't just sit in silence and just listen to yourself talk. You got to listen to me talk. Somebody else likes me talk. That's not good to listen to me, but every once in a while you got to listen to yourself. So like after this show, you should spend some time talking to you. What do you believe? What do you say? Can you formulate an original thought? Sure you can. Shit, you are a high vibration like keep on just like me. So that means that you have this treasure hidden inside of earthen vessels too. So just like me, you have cognition that brings about ignition. So you can ignite it. You can set some shit on fire. So you can either ignore or ignite it. Which one you got, bud? Which one you not gonna do? What you gonna do? You gonna continue to ignore, or you gonna fucking burn some shit up? Well, I'm burning some shit up. I'm gonna ignite it. And the only way to light a fire under you, yourself, and your other self is to engage in some quantum tunneling. That is what it means, that you're going to operate in a quantum presence. You're going to live in the subatomic particle realm. You're going to live in the invisible realm. Now, we got a conundrum. What's the conundrum? The conundrum is the dominant culture doesn't want you to live in the invisible realm, and the big G, not Gilgamesh, but Gilgamesh is, daddy, separated the electrical magnetic spectrum because you could not process what's really going on in the real world. That's why we can't see the 99% of what's really happening. So the moment that you realize that the spirit and body, that there's no separation, okay, now you're ready to kind of hang out where I hang out at. I hang out in the real world, where there is no separation between spirit realm and the physical realm. See, we believe that we die and go somewhere. We don't really understand that we already are somewhere. That simply means that when you look at, for example, inside of the blood, you have plasma. Well, that's your plasmonic photonic body. It's inside of you. So nobody goes external. Everybody goes internal because the kingdom of God is within. So nobody goes to fucking outer space, and that's not there. Everybody goes to inner space. So you go within. So the science and metaphysics of the universe, that's the omniverse. So we got to go cellular. We got to go quantum. We got to go like, you guys remember that movie, what was that movie called? It was called Ant-Man. Remember he became an itty-bitty dude? Yeah, we got to go Ant-Man, and they made another one.
It was called Ant-Man and, I think, Wasp-Man or Wasp, something like that. Remember there was two, Ant-Man and Wasp, and they made it look funny, ha-ha, hee-hee. Well, that movie is trying to drop some knowledge in your life. Like all of the Marvel comic movies. Very like Guardian of the Galaxy. Guardian of the Galaxy? But the galaxy that they're guarding, that they are guarding, it is internal. They don't want you to know that. Why? Because then you will start to unravel. And then what happens? As your consciousness expands, your perception expands, then you're going to do like me. You're going to drop morality. You're going to stop trying to be holy. You're not going to worry about tithing. You're not going to worry about being a vegan. You're not going to worry about earthing. Now, all those things are good. You can continue to do them after you've established a proper ID. But once you establish a proper identification, then you know there is no limitation. When you establish a proper identification, there is no limitation. But until you establish a proper identification, there is going to always be limitation. You're going to be limited by your diet. You're going to be limited by your vocabulary. You're going to be limited by your resources. You're going to be limited by your height or the color of your skin. There's going to be those limits are placed on you by the labels. Well, black people can't do that. Only white people can do that. Only this. So those are belief systems. So the more your consciousness expands, the more you drop your belief system because your consciousness determines your perception. So whoever they are, we don't know who they are, they control you with symbols that have, as we said at the beginning of the show, subatomic particles that come from somebody's intent. So all of the watchers are watching you to have an effect on you. That's how they control you using frequency, waves, and vibration, or what is called quantum telepathy. So your job and my job is to understand this. Guess how we know this? Your gut. So your spirit man is going to tell you, hey, boo-boo, our symbols control consciousness. You're going to be like, what? And they be like, yeah, that McDonald's sign, what does it do to you? It makes you go eat food that kills you. What? How does it work? Now, you gotta think for a moment, brothers and sisters. How do symbols control consciousness? I mean, I'm asking for a friend. If you really think about it, it's really interesting to me. It's fascinating. So symbols literally control your consciousness so that you don't do what you want to do, as was proven by the star experiment. Everybody, 250 people, they all drew the exact same thing based upon the instructor's intention by simply establishing a subatomic particle, subliminal marketing in the mind of the people that were sitting in the audience. Now, once you understand that, if somebody can use biophysics, this is called the biophysics, and we're going to break it down later on, the biophysics of consciousness and mind F. How the blankety blank, excuse me, can I be how can, well, the thing where the entire human race has been hijacked through genetic interbreeding. This is what they call biohacking or biophysics, using your biology to hack into your spirituality. This is what they call the back door. So Lucifer, man, I told you the dude is a fucking genius. I ain't mad at him. I used to work for the dude. If I didn't have if I didn't understand what I understand right now, shit, I'd still be working for him. So the Big G knew that my consciousness had to be expanded. Because there wasn't nothing on the planet better than Lucifer's system. So I had to be exposed to the Wizard of Oz. I had to go behind the curtain because, I'm
I'm old school. You gotta show me the nail scars in your hand, bro. I ain't believing shit. So the big G was like, okay, this was hard-headed. So I needed some acoustical. I needed the acoustic information code that established what they call the quantum mental characteristics and attributes of this universe. I need to see the rhythmic oscillation that establishes what is called human cognition. It's called pattern recognition. I need to see the biophysical pattern. Now, this is what they call generalized music scale, or an electrical magnetic frequency. They call it a meta frequency. Now, this is also called zero-point gravity, or zero-point energy. This is the superfield. That's why I did the last series before this one on the universal unified field of physics, superfield. This is the quantum, they call it the SQS. They meaning like Masons and other people. So I never use their terms because I want them to know that I'm not in their world. So all the stuff that I understand from the dominant culture, I come up with different terms. Because as you will see, when we break down how they keep you in their spell, is by you using their terms. So when you understand that the brain is nothing but a fucking biological computer, it is a biological, spiritual processing organism. So the whole human race, the whole human organism, including the brain, is embedded in this dynamic energy field. Now they call it thinking stuff, or ether. We call it God. So this field, this fluid, this superfluid, quantum vacuum, or like my boy again, that pulls unlimited energy out of the vacuum. He wrote a whole book. You know, not Robert Beck, Colonel, what's the name that wrote the book The Vacuum? Tesla knew this too. So once you get to this level of information, you tap into what they call the holy fractal memory space. That simply means that now they can control you. You are purchased. So when they say Jesus purchased you with a price, that's what that means. That means that you're no longer subject to the propaganda that facilitates the hexagonal, organized, superconductive integration of your brain. That means that they cannot use all of the bio, photon, and photonic influence to override and mind F you with what? Signs and symbols. Signs and symbols, letters and numbers, and pictographs and pictograms, hieroglyphics, they create a brain binding, coherent conscious state. Now the science behind this, and I may get into it tonight, depending on the time that we have, because I need to make sure that you understand the importance of not just having a high-level overview. We got to get into disconnecting you from the hive mind mentality. So that way they can't continue to keep you in spiritual amnesia. Whoever they are, you don't know who they are. Where to get you out? The way that we get you out is by connecting your humanity to source code. Now we call it humanity. It's really spirituality. So your spirit and your body is just dumbed down spirit. So you don't lose your body. In fact, you keep your body. You just put on like Jesus did, a glorified body. So this new glorified body, bam, is activated by your vocabulary. That's why we're doing a series. So that way, this is re-engineering your vocabulary so that way you can re-engineer your genetic code. So how does Lucifer keep you here? Vocabulary. How do you get out? Vocabulary. But vocabulary is called your vocare. That's wave genetics. So letters and numbers are carriers of inform, which is called patterns. These patterns of power. Excuse me. This gets into what we call thought transmission. Now, said all of that to simply state that everything in the Bible is true. But it's done down to a level that's not effective for you. You have been purchased for a price. Otherwise, you would already be a part of the Gilboa. You would be a part of the dominant culture. Right now, your genetic code has not been effed up to the point where your DNA can't heal me. You're not a part of what they call the walled city. You've been called out of earth like Abraham. You've been called out. So you're not under the control of the mighty one, the Gilboa, the great men of renown. Otherwise, you'd be over there listening to some Freemason somewhere. You'd be sitting in church right now. So for some reason or another, God, Yahushua, Jesus, whatever term you want to use, he, she, it, saved you. So you've been saved. You've been called out. So that was the Bible is really saying. The Bible is really saying that, hey, there's a distinctive mode of pronunciation of a specific frequency that got you out of Mystery Babylon, but you don't go back. So the point of this series is to help you to understand, okay, how do I, number one, make sure that I got rid of all of the Christian residue. That is the spiritual amnesia. And then I realized that I am an individual expression of God on earth. So now I have to have I gotta be cognitive. So that way I can have ignition. So that way I can ignite and I can astral project and I can soul travel. I can do quantum tunneling. I can connect telepathically with source. I can have coherence. I can have entanglement and consciousness and oneness and the presence of God 24/7, 365. So that presence doesn't allow me to fall prey to the harmonic background frequencies of the dominant culture. So the dominant culture, they're going to come with a lot of cray-cray. So what's the point of the cray-cray? To hijack your mind through esoteric symbolism. It is all of these symbols and symbolism, even in the cartoons, all of the movies, everything is designed to tap into your mind. I mean, the dominant culture, they spared no expense. They got you coming and going. They use all these symbols, all of these signs, all of the movies. Everything is designed to move you. You ever seen all these massive, architectural buildings? Those are all built by the Gilboa. All these ancient inscriptions, all these mystical, pyramids and all of this stuff all over the planet, all these secret rituals and, crystal skulls and the three city states and all of the stuff like in all of the movies, like all of Dan Brown's work, all of the Freemasonry stuff. You know the book, the movie The Da Vinci Code, the book? All of this stuff, what is this all about? It's all about controlling the human mind with lost symbols. They're not really lost, but symbols that are not talked about, like the feats. What the hell is that? What's the purpose of the feats? Well, it has a huge effect on the, I'm going to do it, chemical or chemistry inside of the brain. It affects your brain on a huge level. So our job is to remember, or we're not even using the word remember, is that the information, I'm using the word missing links. So you're not able to construct, because we are architects. We are spiritual architects of our reality. You're supposed to construct your reality with your mentality. But they don't give you access. So how in the world can I construct my reality if I don't even have access to it? So they are good by telling you to be something without giving you access or the information that is needed, because even in our music, everything has been changed. So we're not establishing the electrical magnetic photon and phonon field to establish the electrical magnetic frequency to manifest what is real. Because they're giving us 440 instead of 432. So you keep trying to manifest and manifest. You're like, God, man, this shit ain't working, brother. The course is a fraud. No, it ain't the course, boo-boo. It is the mental attribute, the characteristics of the universe. The entire universe is fucked. To prevent you from operating, you not operating in the right manifest. Remember, back in the day, abracadabra. You would talk, bam, because everybody was on the same frequency. So the Tower of Mystery Babylon means mysterious frequency. So in order for us to return, if that's the right term, in order for us to understand the spiritual and the mystical and the magical existence of the frequencies, the waves, and the vibrations of your voice, we must understand the conceptual frequency that allows you to manifest as I think, as a man thinketh in his heart, bam, so is he. So you manifest based upon your oscillation, your vibration, or what we call thinking. But that comes from if you have proper understanding of the biomechanics, the bio, and I said bio because it affects us on a biological level, but it really is a cosmological event. We have to understand that your concept of information that you use to process what goes on in your world is based upon a manipulated math, music, and language. So that way, even though you're using math, music, and language, and even though you're doing everything right, you still can't produce no results. And what happens when that happens? You're doing everything I'm telling you to do, you're doing everything the preacher's telling you to do, and he's like, damn, Doc, shit ain't working, brother. I'm still broke as a joke. My back still hurt. This is still going wrong. Why? Because they purposely left out pieces of information. So if without these pieces of information, your creation, which is a function of language. So you are supposed to create what you speak. Because once you understand that the structure of the letter creates the function. So that means that the structure of the letters and numbers, that's why we got 26. Before English, there was only 22. Everything was 22. There's a video that goes through 22, from the amino acids to the months to the sound. Everything is based upon those, because that is the master builder. Master number 22. The only way to build. Who manipulated the system? Nimrod in the Bible. But in the epic of Gilgamesh, just like Noah that's not his name. So by giving you a watered down name, I fuck up your original lane. A watered down name gives you a watered down realm, world, creation. Nimrod's real name is Gilgamesh. And everything on this planet is controlled by that fool. Now remember, his name is, you can go back even further, and he got a different name. The point is, what did it do? They intermingled through genetic engineering for the purpose of hijacking, because they want to be God. So they couldn't create, but they could manipulate God's creation, which is you and I. So we have to understand the big picture. And man, how does one understand the big picture? Because what is the big picture? The big picture is that you are called by God.
You are an individual person of God, but if you look down on the quantum level, quantum processing of all systems where there's specific patterns, these patterns ensure commingling or relationship or what they call quantum computing between consciousness. Well, guess what happens? Well, the cosmological foundation of your consciousness, well, it's been tampered with. It's been manipulated. So that way the frequency, waves and vibrations that come from the cosmos is not creating the correct theology. And since the correct theology is not being created, you're not creating the correct, or you're not having the right effect on your biology. That is really all I'm saying, is there's a hierarchy of the interaction of forces that is generating these atomic molecules that are creating what we call molecular or fractal geometric, what's the word that they use all the time? Holographic images. So our fractals are not creating the correct math, to put it that way. So on a molecular level, your cells, they're not vibrating the way that they are designed by the big G to vibrate. They're vibrating, but they're vibrating in a manner or in a frequency or in a wave of vibration that doesn't allow you to connect with source. So that's all we're saying. Today's message is simply another way of saying that, hey, we are down here and we just all trying to survive. Well, we're supposed to be down here doing what? Kicking back in a lap of luxury and abundance. So what do you got to do? Fuck surviving, just start thriving. So how do we thrive? You thrive by rejecting survival, because surviving puts you in a state where you get desperate and you just focus on materialism. When you're in a state of abundance, what do you focus on? You focus on living. If you had unlimited wealth right now, what would you do? You'd be relaxing. You'd be like, your family be somewhere out on a yacht somewhere. You'd be helping other people. But when you are surviving, what are you doing? You figuring out, shit, how the hell I'm gonna pay this light bill? So your whole mindset is different when you're in a state where you got to survive versus being in a state where you thrive. So my job is to assist you with getting into a mental state where you say, fuck the external. Inside of me, I'm in a relaxed state of abundance. If you got to close your eyes and turn off all the noise outside of you so that way you can get in a relaxed state. Because as we will break down tonight, that's the only way to break the spell of spiritual amnesia. The spell is enforced by fear, doubt, and unbelief, by keeping you under the influence of the symbols. All the symbols, all the pattern on this frequency is about fear. It's about, it is not enough. It's about fight for limited resources, supply and demand. Notice how they control the marketplace. Sometimes the interest, when I started with the housing, the interest rate was really, really low. Then they started going up. If I had to guide in when I did it, the market, the rates, not the cost of materials, an artificial interest rate established by who? Prices you out. So even though you're making the money, you can't afford the product. Well, before I could afford the product when the interest rate was at 2%. But when the interest rate goes up to 7%, all of a sudden now you can't afford the product. So now who controls the interest rate? Oh, well, the Federal Reserve. Well, it says federal, but they're not federal. They're a private organization. So this is what? Man-made artificial manipulation. It has nothing to do with source. So we got to get out of that system. But we can't, because we are in that physical reality. So we're going to do. Be smarter than the system. That is consciousness. That is why the Bible says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. It's the inability for us to operate in the vibrational awareness where we can see the peripheral while maintaining and keeping our eyes on the prize. All right, y'all, I love you. Appreciate you. We'll see y'all in on tonight for part 2. Let's get it.